Could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the parents' lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the parents' lounge is the cure to staying sane. Welcome, Angela Whitmore, who is like, what is happening, LOL?
Hello.
You are watching a very special The Parents' Lounge. Jamie Kaler, Jason Gowan, and
Hello.
our guest mom for the night, and basically the person it's her show tonight. Meredith Masony is here. She's about to head out on tour for her new solo stand-up tour, Mental Load, and we are so excited to have you. How are you?
I'm exhausted. How are you guys doing?
The same. My wife's out and I'm watching. My kids are downstairs. I was like, I set the alarm just in case, like, they opened the front door so I could hear that the house they're leaving. I don't know what's happening.
Right. Well, because you could have a runner for sure. Yeah.
Do they ever run? I mean, do they run, Jamie?
No, because there's too much candy in the house. They would never leave the house. It's where they've hidden their candy here. So this is where the treasure chest is. Yeah.
I don't know. I think they run. I mean, if given the option and the opportunity, I feel like kids will run. What are the ages of yours again?
8 and 9. Jason's way. He's got twins.
Yeah, I think more like you might be out of that because they don't. But the littles, like you, Jason.
So mine will wait till I use the shitter, and they will prop chairs up against the door, and they'll unlock the deadbolt and leave. So I have a Ring camera focused on that door with the alarm so that as soon as they try it, I have to hopefully finish quickly and get out there and catch them.
You got to do that thing from Casino where Sharon Stone uses her nylons and ties the kid to the bed. You know that one? Have you ever tried that?
No, because Child Protective Services would probably frown on it, I think.
Wait, are you saying that's okay, never mind. I didn't agree to disagree.
So listen, I am the veteran here, right? So my kids are the oldest. So they're 17, 14, and 12. And my husband tonight was like, he's been just really enjoying showing the kids movies from like the 90s and the early 20s. And I'm like, I don't think this is appropriate. Early 2000s, not early 20s, early 2000s. I don't even know what year it is. And I was like, I don't think any of these are appropriate anymore. Like you couldn't get away with making this movie anymore today. Like there's so much, wrong with it or right, however you want to, look at it. And so he's like, no, tonight we're going to pick a movie as a family. We're going to sit and we're going to watch it while we eat dinner. And I was like, okay. He's like, we're going to watch Something About Mary. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I can only think of 7 scenes right off the top of my head that are not going to go well tonight. Let's push play. And so we watched it and we had to send out the 2 youngest about 3 times where he was like, I can't sit here and let them see, like, no. And he's like, you're right. Go away, children, cover your ears and eyes and then come back. And I was
we got a bleeder. That's a big one. He catches his John Thomas in the zipper.
Frankenbeans.
She uses a certain fluid as hair gel, right?
Yeah.
And a good hunk of the movie is Matt Dillon talking about how he takes care of mentally challenged people. He goes, I put him on a leash, on a chain in the backyard. He loves it. He runs around like a crazy. By the way, really funny movie. Really
great movie. Listen, great movie. I don't think that there's a single movie that we have watched that I would ever say is I couldn't believe we watched that, or I couldn't believe they made that. I absolutely do. They were hilarious and very funny and whatever. But I'm just saying you couldn't do that today. Like nobody is making that movie today. You know what I mean? And
no way. Did you go back? Here's what's great about this is that the people can comment. Jessica says American Pie. I forgot about that one because he bangs a pie. I mean, he bangs. And there's the whole
Who hasn't banged a pie from time to time?
I mean, Crazy Wednesday. But yeah, we are the family who watches TV while we eat every single night. There's not a night where we sit at the dinner table. The dinner table actually isn't even anywhere near our kitchen. Like we don't even have one. We have a special table that we sometimes use. We've used it 3 times for like Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. But we eat at the couch. And we eat what's it called? The sofa table, whatever you want to call it.
We had fold-out trays when I was a kid, and we used to watch. We would fold the tray out and then sit and eat while you watch the TV
dinner.
Yeah, TV dinner.
Stofers.
And it's funny because we very seldom eat. We don't even eat the same meals. Like I have to make different meals for everybody in the house.
Are you still doing a la carte with the kids?
I made Hannah tofu with vegetable scramble, and then I had to make Claire a quesadilla. And I've tried to. Maybe you can help me, Meredith. I try to go. I don't care. You're eating this food. I throw it out. They won't eat it.
Right, but how long do you think they would not eat it if you like dug your heels in? You think like by day 3 they'd be like, I'll eat it. I'll eat it because I'm hungry.
Well, it's Lord of the Flies, and they have spears and little like.
I'm just saying. I bet.
Honestly, I do feel like that's where Hannah lives.
She's pretty close to Lord of the Flies. We should tell everyone, Meredith. Have you already shared what you had today?
What I had today?
Did you have dental?
Oh, yeah. I have new teeth. This is the first time I've had a tooth, by the way, in over a decade in this spot.
Wait,
I have a bridge. That's how old I am. I have a bridge. Look, it's right here.
It looks great.
I haven't had a tooth there in 10, 12 years. Just toothless. But it's great. I had
you couldn't see it. It was a gap back here, right?
You couldn't see it unless I went like this.
Yeah.
But I had to have a tooth pulled. And they were like, you have to have sinus surgery to lift this and do this. And I was like, no, I'll go toothless. Totally cool with that. Because I was like, there's no way I'm having sinus surgery.
They can't really see the teeth from the stage, right? I mean, you should be far enough back.
I mean, at this point now I have like the majority of my teeth in my head. I mean, I don't have any back teeth. None. They were all pulled years ago.
Was it because my wife, her teeth got damaged having children?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They not only sucked all the nutrients out, but she got sick every single day of pregnancy, and the acid damaged her teeth.
They also leach all the calcium out of your body to give to the baby, and so I ended up with 8 cavities after my first pregnancy, and so I went in for a bunch of dental work, and then it just got worse with each baby. And we didn't have a dentist growing up. I mean, we grew up, we didn't know any dentists. Let's just put it that way. Nobody was going in unless something was really, really wrong with whatever. And so the first time I went in for real dental work was in college when I had to get my wisdom teeth pulled. And my mom drove me and she's like, no, it's her tab. Put it on her. That was the first thing I went to collections for as an adult at 21. No, 19 was.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
19. Because my mom was like, I can't afford that. She was like, but good luck. I hope it works out. And I'll drive you home. And I was like, thanks. I'm so glad.
At least she threw you that bone a little bit.
Yeah, she did drive me home.
My 9-year-old, her teeth aren't even in yet. And they're not like crazy. You know, like one of her friend had a 3rd tooth and they had to like pull teeth, like insane stuff. But we go to the dentist and the dentist was like, well, if you can hang a second, I'm going to bring the orthodontist over here. And then the orthodontist comes over, takes like a look for like 30 seconds. And then this girl walked over with an iPad and she goes, so here's the plan for Hannah. She's going to need, we're going to do Invisalign with her because her teeth are still coming in. It's $5,000. If you sign right now, we'll take $80 off and it'll go. And there was a whole plan there. And I go, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Well, yeah. She goes, oh, would you like to sign? I go, no, I'm not going to sign right now. And I said, we'll think about it. And then every day for 3 weeks, I got at least a text and an email and a few phone calls of like, hey, just wanted to check to make sure, Hannah's teeth. I'm like, she's 9, dude. Let's let the teeth come in, see where everything settles.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about $5,000 for your Invisalign.
Listen, I wasn't out of the chair today when I had these 3 put the old lady bridge and the other tooth over here put in, and they were like, so number 7, it also needs work. So you just let us know when you're coming back for number 7. And I was like, I am not coming back for at least 12 months unless something is falling out of my face, because this was so expensive and I hate it here so much. And I was like, this isn't a reflection on you. You're great, but I hate this place. This is like Alcatraz and I don't want to be here. And I'm just sweating, and I'm literally, the entire time that the dentist is in my mouth, I'm doing this, like just clenching. Like, why do people clutch their pearls? Is that like a instinctual thing? Like, because I just grab for the neck when I get uncomfortable, and I'm wondering if it's because that's where your jugular is.
If you had pearls, I think you would. I think it was. I think it's probably from the Victorian era. They would go.
But I mean, why do they
women
do
would go,
that?
oh, and they would clutch. Oh, excuse me.
Right, but I mean, do you think it's because in our DNA we're guarding the jugular?
Women, maybe. Guys usually clutch. We clutch our other pearls, and we only have 2.
Never mind. That was
protect them as much as we possibly. Like
I think I actually do a little bit of both. I think I'm clutching
one hand
both.
goes up, one hand goes down. The 2 dangerous.
I'm pretty cool.
Really.
I actually, because I was just like, when you get afraid, I do cover both. So I think Meredith's right. It's an instinctual protection.
I think it's a DNA thing. I think it's like in your genetics, your genetic code or whatever, that you literally, because I don't know, I'm just thinking about it in my head. I'm like, I always do that when I get scared. And I'm a chronic gasper. My husband hates it. Chronic. I have a chronic gasping problem where it doesn't matter what is going on, where I am. If somebody just nonchalantly walks up next to me and I turn, like somebody just came in the door right now, and at least I knew the animal sensed it, so I didn't freak out. But if I didn't hear that and I only heard the doorknob turn, there would have been a huge gasp and clutching, and my husband hates it.
I mean, you're in Florida, so there's reasonable chance that somebody would just come in your house randomly too. So
what? I'm on a podcast. Did you want to join? All right. I love you.
Yeah, come on in.
That's my 17-year-old just walking in. I'm like, it's a school night. Could you maybe come home at a reasonable hour? But yeah.
17? I don't know. 17's that's a.
I will probably not live to see my kid's 17th birthday. They will have killed me by then.
You know what really upsets me about the dentist is that for kids, gas is not covered by insurance. Is that the same with you guys? So every time I go there and the kid was like 5, and the kid's having a meltdown and they're not gonna, and she goes, well, we recommend a little bit of gas. Most kids use it, and you kind of need gas to kind of calm them down so we can get in their mouth or whatever. And I go, oh yeah, do gas. And she goes, just so you know, gas is not covered by insurance. And I go, why not? She goes, I don't know. And so it's always gas is like $250 regardless. And so part of me wants to just like give them a half a thing of Benadryl, like a half a jar of Benadryl before I take them, and then go, keep the gas, brother. For $12, I just got some Benadryl. I'm knocked them out.
So I love that you have dental insurance, and I'm proud of you for that. Like, good job. I don't. So nothing is covered when I go in, and I do have to pay for gas every time.
Wait, huge influencer doesn't have a union where you guys have
no union. My insurance costs just for medical are so stupid, and then there's nothing. I couldn't afford dental at all, so I basically went in and I not bartered, but I begged to be on a payment plan, and I was like, if I have this work done, can I pay you off over like 8 months in just installment payments? And the woman behind the desk was like, I watch your Facebook, so I'll talk to her. And I was
going to say, why don't you give an ad? Why don't you give them an ad? And just
I surely would. I would. I mean, the amount of money that I put into my mouth, my husband's always like, it's a fucking car. We put in a car. I'm like, I get it, Dave. I get it. But anyway, but yeah, so it's stupid. I hate the dentist. I hate everything about it.
There's an obvious joke there where he you have a car in your mouth and he likes to drive. It's okay, whatever. I'm not.
Wow.
Wow.
And I apologize to everyone watching from Meredith's audience for Jamie Kaler ahead of time.
No, but when she's on stage doing her tour, that I can't wait that you're out about on tour. I think it's so exciting. It would be.
I already did 2 shows. Locals. I did 2 local shows here in Jax. I've got 2 more next month in Jax before I hit the road. And it was so fun. It was so great to be back up there and just get on stage. And it felt like it had been forever, but it had only been, like 4 months. But those 4 months felt like just forever. And so it was great to be back up there and just, hearing the people laughing and, getting into it. And there's nothing clean about my comedy. So
that's why I was like,
there's nothing clean about what is going on.
I love
so it's, but it was a whole lot of fun. I had 2 really great audiences, and I'm looking forward to next month, and then just getting on the road and, seeing. I know Sarah comments, she's like, we're used to this type of humor. We follow Meredith. So it's okay.
I know. But as a guy, sometimes you can't,
listen, I wouldn't be here at this hour of the night, of the early morning. Technically, it feels like tomorrow, if I didn't enjoy you guys so much. So,
well, I know we love you coming on. Thank you so much. We, what I love also is that your kids are older. So everything I ever tell you, you're like, all right. You're like, you're like the Dr. Spock of this era. Cause I'm like, hey, my kid, she goes, oh yeah, I do this and that and this. And like you were talking about kids as runners. My daughter, when she was super young, I don't know what happened, but she hid and wouldn't, the old won't come out where your wife's walking around the house going, no, I'm serious. Please, if you're in the house, it's not funny anymore. It's not a joke. Please, I'm begging you, cry out for mama, we'll come get you. And I'm like, and the whole time I'm like, she's in the house, but it was for a long time. And so all of a sudden the neighbors get involved and we are scouring the neighborhood because we were like, maybe she went out the back gate. And the whole time. And sure enough, she was hidden. And I was reaching in every corner of every closet and she hid really well. And still to this day, like my wife will be like, you remember that time you hit on me? Don't you ever do that to me again.
I think every kid does that. The best though, is when it's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And you're just, check the house at the end of the night and you're checking the front door and you're checking the back door. And then you check every kid's room and then you go to bed. Like it's just, so everybody has a nighttime routine, right? My husband goes to bed and puts a CPAP on and says this to me. And then I go around and I do all of the things. And that's my job. So after I had done all of the locks and checked everything and gone in, I saw my daughter, I saw my youngest son, and I look in the top bunk for my oldest and he's not there. And I was like, that's so weird. Where did he? I didn't see him come out for a drink, nothing. So I'm looking everywhere for probably 30, 40 minutes. And I'm screaming, he's been kidnapped. And Dave's like, the doors were locked, right? And I was like, yes. And he's like, so the kidnapper
is still in the house
after he left. He's still in the house. Oh my God. No, he was like, so the kidnapper locked the door after he left. He's like, why would he do that? And I was like, where is he? And you have that panic moment because your logical brain is like, they have to be here. But your fear of misplacing your child just overtakes any logic. And so we found him. He had actually slipped between the mattress and the bed frame and was laying literally on like at the rectangle at the hip. He was like covered around it and the pillow was up against him. And so when you look in the bed's empty, but the kid was literally between, they were little. He must have been 5, 6. So he fit. And I tell you what, I thought I was gonna die because I was like, I've lost my kid in the damn house. But I think every parent does that.
So it's so funny because it's a different era. Because I don't remember this because I think I was 5, but my parents always told me that I guess I sleptwalk as a kid.
Oh,
and we were in Massachusetts at the time, and the neighbors called my parents and said, "We think your son's asleep on our front yard," and it was middle of the night. And I guess I walked out. I had a blanket. I think I sucked my thumb as a kid and had a blanket or something. And I literally walked out the front door and laid down on the neighbor's lawn. And like, I don't think my parents, they never were like, oh my God, we were so scared. They were like, yeah, I I remember we got you, and then I think we went to bed after that, and it was just not a big deal.
Well, I thought about this the other day. We were talking. I was for whatever reason, I keep coming up with jokes, right? Like I've written the show, I have the show locked, but every time I'm like, I think this would be funny. I think I'm going to add this, and I think this would be funny. So I was thinking about how every community these days, I swear to God, every community is now labeled like a golf cart community, right? Like everybody has golf carts for their kids, and their kids drive their golf carts around, and it is so foreign to me to like look at these kids and watch them drive these golf carts. Like I won't allow it. I'm not the mom. I do not allow it. Right. But I see these 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids buzzing around in these golf carts. And it's mostly because their moms or dads are so buzzed that they can't drive them to a friend's house. Right. So they're like, just take the golf cart. It's fine. We'll see you later. And then they, the kids are mowing down old lady walkers like me in the neighborhood or whatever. But when I was a kid, there were two things that were going to happen if I asked for a ride to a friend's house. Number one, I would have gotten to my dad or mom, and they would have already been passed out drunk. Number two, they would have said, no problem, I'll give you a ride, but pack a cooler and make sure you got at least 6 beers in there because I might have to drive you all the way there and all the way back. And that would have been acceptable because it's like, you want me to drive all the way there and not have a 6-pack of Busch Light? Like, get out of here, and nobody would have been like clutching their pearls, right? But today, it's like, I'm not endorsing, by the way, drunk driving whatsoever. I'm just saying 1986, it was definitely a thing that people were taking coolers into their cars and driving around with Busch Light, at least in the state of Florida.
It was every state. Let me tell you.
But it's still happening in Florida. It's just illegal now. Yeah.
They aren't doing that. What are you doing this weekend? Basically, we go, we're drinking. And then they go, what are you doing? So it was, the activity was drinking. And then we went bowling, or we went to we had to drive into my town, or like skiing. I went skiing over spring break with my kids. And it was the first time I'd ever worn a helmet skiing. And the guy, I would go, man, I wore a helmet, which had never, as a kid, like we had a Boda bag, one of those like animal skin bags, and we'd fill it with peppermint schnapps and just get wrecked. And then fly down the mountain. And now I guess it's super dangerous. People get killed all the time.
I would assume that is a very dangerous activity. I've never skied, and I don't think you'll ever catch me on skis at all. It doesn't look fun to me to fly down the side of a mountain at a ridiculous speed.
It doesn't drive me.
I don't want to invite I think if I go out into the snow and I'm skiing like that, I'm going to look like Danny DeVito's penguin. And I just don't want to invite that comparison.
I can feel, yeah. I mean, I just don't like to be cold, and so doing any activity.
Drunk driving back then. I mean, people were wrecked. We lost a couple kids in high school. I think smashed their car, and it was like, what happened? It was like, oh, I was drunk driving, and it wasn't even like a big deal. I don't even know if it made the newspaper. It was like, it happens. Yeah,
well,
Dave rolled his car.
What was the year that they changed it from? Like you were technically allowed to drive up into a certain point. Like it wasn't drink. There was something I'd have to
0.08 is the limit.
Right. But I mean, you were allowed to drink. You were allowed to actually be, I think you weren't allowed to drink and drive, but you were allowed to have drank. If this is not
some states like Delaware still have open container.
They have open containers. Like in Texas, I think, I don't know if you can still do it, but
I know Delaware still has.
I'll argue with you, Meredith. I think actually, listen, drunk driving was super dangerous. Of course, I would argue it's more dangerous now. Everyone's on their phone texting. So back then, you were like, hey, stay off the road from like midnight till 3 a.m.
Distracted driving in general is just terrible because
it's terrible.
It is. And I stopped doing this after coming back from shows. I was taking the 6 a.m. flight all the time. No matter where I was taking a 6 a.m. flight on a Monday morning, which meant I was at the airport by like 4 a.m. And the night before a show runs 10, 11 o'clock, you're not getting into your hotel room till 12, 1 a.m. And I had to stop driving home from the airport because I got into an accident with myself on 95 and a bunch of highway divider things. So I was like, this is so stupid because I'm doing just as bad a thing as somebody who is texting or drinking and driving because I was completely distracted because I was so tired. I was exhausted. So I was like, I can't drive. So I had to start, telling my husband, you have to pick me up. Like, don't be a dick.
Cars are also so big, they barely fit in the lanes.
Yeah,
Everyone's on their
Buick.
phone. You're like, dude, you're in the car and the other guy's like, you're like, hey man, keep your lane, but he can't because he's in this giant car and the lane is devised for a car from 1952. And so I find driving way more dangerous now than ever.
Yeah, well, I don't like to drive in general. And since I can't like teleport anywhere yet, I mean, you still have to do it, but I don't like to
Be a
drive.
drone. You'll just be droned somewhere where
That
you
would
go.
be great. I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of driving at all. So,
last time we talked, Meredith, and we talked about sports a bit, and my daughter, she did club. She's been doing club for the last few months, and I got a little behind the scenes view of what it was really my first view of like, oh, wow, this is a huge money making industry where every kid is like gonna be pro. And you're like, none of these kids are going to be pro. Not one kid in this whole field. There's 500 kids in this field. There might be one or two college players here, and they're like, oh, so because Claire was playing and she was playing a year up. And so the kids are like 12 inches taller and just running her over. And she's like, I don't think I love soccer like I used to. And I go, I totally get it, dude.
Yeah.
But your daughter was doing a lot of that stuff, right?
Well, she was big into gymnastics before she broke her arm and she was doing really well. But like my son is a pole vaulter. We're going to the district meet tomorrow. And he's been getting some correspondences from some colleges and whatnot. And we're taking God help us, a college tour this summer where we're driving up to outdoor nationals in Pennsylvania, I think. And so we're driving all the way up and we're doing pit stops at colleges along the way and then all the way back. My husband's like, it's a 14-day trip. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And so he's like, I've got it all mapped out. And here are the hotels. And I was like, this is going to be awful. All right, great. I'm so excited. So, I think that there are kids, depending on the sport and depending on what's going on, that definitely can get into college to do these things and whatnot. But to spend the obscene amount of money that parents are spending on some pipe dream of your kid being an NFL or all pro MLB or soccer, whatever, it's like, just stop. Okay.
Christy's right. It's stupid, expensive, and ridiculous. So, and here's the funny, my daughter's 8. She's 8. And part of me, so we have this wonderful babysitter. She was one of the buddies. She was an 8th grade buddy when my daughter was at kindergarten. At my school, they have buddies, like the older kids, about the younger kids. And she kind of went the volleyball route, but realized it wasn't for her. And now she's like captain of the robotics team.
Love it.
Like her parents are like brilliant and she's off in that world. And part of me was like, because I've gone to a couple of tournaments where we drove and stayed in a hotel. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So unless my daughter, I played college through soccer, so I can see these kids and go, yeah. Or let's see if maybe book club, maybe creative writing workshop, or let's learn an instrument. Well, how about that? And so it's kind of funny to watch other parents and but you can't help it because if you don't get your kid into whatever their specialty is going to be by like 7 years old, they missed the window and all the other kids passed them. So as a parent, I felt so guilty about the fact that I wasn't like helping her get into this world, even though it's probably
all
not.
right. So I'll leave you with this. So Matthias, I didn't think was going to play anything. I didn't think sports were going to be his thing. Right. And so he picked up actually right before COVID hit, he found an old tennis racket in the garage and some tennis balls. And he asked my husband to go into the street and hit the ball around. And he's like, I think I like this. And so we signed him up for some YMCA classes, right? That's ridiculous.
Hold on, Rick, can we read that one? I like to read some of these. Rick Buckles said, I spent over $60K on my daughter playing club fast pitch for the first
almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years. And she hated it once she left high school. I basically paid out her college. Yes, you paid out her college tuition on club ball. something has to be done. The system's so broken. But talk about your son with.
Well, so the short of it is he played tennis, right? He started taking lessons or whatever, and nothing crazy. Like I'm talking about YMCA lessons. Like I wasn't spending a bunch of money or anything up front. The pandemic hits, you're doing nothing, right? So my husband would take him out to the tennis courts and play with him because you had to kill 24 hours a day with your family. So he spent a lot of time there. Then we ended up moving to this neighborhood that we're in now that has tennis courts, which our old neighborhood didn't. So he started going up there and playing with the other kids and loved it. Well, his freshman year, he tried out for the team, made the team, never played a match. His sophomore year, he makes the team, but they told him, you're never going to play a match, right? Because we live in a very tennis country club area. So they were like, you're good enough to sit the bench, but not play. So I looked at him and I was like, listen, here's the thing. And my husband and I both said, I don't think it's a great idea to waste your high school career sitting on the sidelines of something unless you just love it so much that it just is every breath you take. So try something else, anything else. We don't care, whatever, not football, because I don't condone that, but anything else, play anything else, right? So he was like, it's track season. So I was like, great, run track. That's a great idea. So of course he picks up a pole to pole vault, which I was like, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? And he was like, I think this is going to be fun. So we took him down to a track club and he tried it. And now the kid is, jumping. Last weekend, he was clearing a 15.5-foot bungee.
Oh my gosh. That's
and
amazing.
It's just stupid. And he's so good at it. And it was like a duck to water or whatever they say. But it was the weirdest thing because it wasn't like this path that we had set or this specialty that he was like, it was literally, he made the tennis team and never played. And I was like, try anything else. But I don't think throwing more money at tennis
That's the same thing.
Is the idea. So pick something.
That's what's happening with soccer.
Else.
All of a sudden her playing time's going down. And these clubs, like they take it so serious. I'm like, she's 8. They had a guest come, like a guest from a different team. And that guest scored all 4 goals. And we won 4-3.
Was it like a 32-year-old like that's a ringer? Like how do they justify that?
What movie is that? What movie is that with the little league and the guy comes out and he has a piece of paper.
Bears.
I am 12 or whatever.
Kelly Leak and the Bad News Bears. He's like catching everybody's balls. Like Kelly Leak. That's what we always like. I was calling her Kelly Leak, and it was funny because the only reason she even loves soccer is because she got paired on this team with these phenomenal players. And so they were winning games like 15-0. Because she was in the right place at the right time, she's got a few goals. But I always said, listen, I hate to say this, but you're a +1. You're not the celeb. You're going to the party. Let's not mix it up. But you didn't get the invite. You got the tag along. So
honestly, I've made a pretty good career out of being a tag along. It's done all right for me.
I reached out to a tennis coach today, and because I was like, "Well, try tennis."
Well, I think that you can. I always tell them try everything, and figure out if there's anything. Like I never would have said, "Let's do horseback," and that's what my daughter does now. Like after gymnastics finished, we moved over to horseback, which is, you want to talk ridiculously expensive. It's really disgusting.
More expensive than the car in your mouth.
Oh my gosh. And we just did a horse show this weekend. And of course the poor kid, she fell. She had a nasty fall 2 weeks ago. But I do make her wear an equestrian air hit vest. Yeah. So it's an inflatable vest. And, cause she was falling so much that I was just like, this is the most insane thing ever. So I got her one of those vests. They're basically the same ones that like motorcycle cross, whatever people wear.
Cross, yep.
Yeah. Like they flip up and down the coccyx or whatever. And it, and it just this whole thing. So, we went to the show. Her horse, Johnny, was being a real a-hole. Mm-hmm. He's a teenager, which apparently is a real thing with horses. Like when they're in their teenage years, they're nasty and stubborn and bullheaded and whatever. And so I have a teenager
out behind the stables, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer.
That Mary Jane
stole my car one time. A horse stole my car. I was like, dude, you got to slow it down.
So a teenager on a teenage horse is a lot. And so anyway, he refused to jump. That's what they do. They just refuse and they'll turn and they won't take the jump. And so she had to ride him back around and he refused a second time. Well, when he refused the second time, he threw her and she went. And so, of course, the second that she goes off the saddle, the air hit vest goes off because it's attached to the saddle. That's how it knows how to inflate. And so it makes this massive boom. And so the EMT starts freaking out and she goes, get down, because she thought she broke a bone. And I was like, have you heard a bone that breaks like that? Like, that's the most intense. I was like, it was a CO2 cartridge. Like, but I think she thought my kid broke a bone or something. And so Sophia's standing up and she's going, get down. And so then she's on the floor. And I'm like, so I'm telling her, I'm like, it's her vest. And I'm pointing at the vest and the woman is running. And I'm like, it's okay. She's okay. But she got back on the horse. And she finished
Literally,
2 of her classes. But it's just crazy. And like, this is every day of your weekend, of every weekend of your life until they decide to leave you is just kids' sports and activities.
Well, kids nowadays, they're never leaving, aren't they? They're going to be living with you for the rest of their lives, I understand.
My 7-year-old tells me that all the time, that he's never leaving, ever.
You know what? I'm at the point where I wish it were true. I wish they'd stay. Because like now that we're doing the college thing, my son stood me up for the first time for a girl.
Oh, how did that feel?
It was rough.
They're not leaving you. You're leaving them. That's why you go on the road.
Yeah.
Go on the road, you're like, oh, mommy's got to work. Wink, wink. Mommy's got to go sit and sleep in a hotel for a few nights and watch Law and Order marathons.
Well, so we were watching Love is Blind together, which is not a show you should watch with your children, but he's 17. So I'm like, he's seen worse. So I was like, do you want to watch this stupid, terrible trash reality show with me? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So we watched the whole season. So it comes to the finale, the live finale night. And we couldn't watch it that night. So the next day I was like, do you want to watch Love is Blind with me? Because it's a reality show tonight. And he's like, yeah. And so about an hour later, he's like, I'm just going to run out to see my friend. 20 minutes tops. And I was like, it's 8:00. I thought we were going to watch the reunion together. And he's like, 30 minutes tops. A friend who's a girl. 3.5 hours later, he came home. And I was like,
30 minutes. I mean, I don't.
You stood me up. I was like, you stood me up. We had a date. And he's like, Mom, just sit down. We'll watch it now. I love you, Mom. Sit down. And I was like, all right, fine. We'll watch it now. But next time I'm going to be really upset if you, and I won't. And the next time it'll be the same thing. Because I'm at the spot where I'm just stealing these moments because they're just always, he just walked back in the house to see the same girl who he stood me up for the Love is Blind reunion.
My kids aren't there yet.
No.
They're occasionally, they're at the stage now where sometimes they'll be like, Dad, stay outside. Don't come in. Don't come in. Just don't come in, Dad. And I go, all right, whatever. I care. I don't want to come in anyway. It's something. But then she'll come up, I love you, Daddy. I love you.
Yeah, it changes. It's funny. I posted a story with a picture of the kids that somebody sent to me, a friend of ours our kids are literally almost the same age. They were both born same year, same month. And so she sent me a picture. And so, of course, I cropped her kids out because I didn't ask for permission. Because it's like, I don't want to be the lady who puts your kids on the internet if you don't want them there. And so I just had my kids in this picture. And I literally just captioned it and then I blinked. And the next picture is, them now. And it was just like, I remember taking that photo and I had a newborn right here. And Sophia was just in a diaper and her little white sandals. And Matthias was standing next to her. And I was just like, oh my gosh. It breaks your heart a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I'm a crybaby. My wife laughs at me. I'm the emotional one of the two. And I'm like, there you go.
Yeah, but I think that's, I always remind myself that's the job. They're supposed to grow up and be independent. And if you did your job right, I think they'll come back and they'll ask your opinion and want to spend family vacations together. And like my whole goal is to just be like a kick-ass grandparent. Like I want to be the Mimi that they're like, we want to go to Mimi's because she buys us everything and she lets us eat all the trash food and watch the trash reality TV shows. And I want to do the Disney cruises. And like, that's my whole thing. I tell my husband all the time, like, I will work until I feel like I'm going to die. But my whole goal is to be that kick-ass Mimi that just takes the grandkids wherever they want to go.
That's so Florida. You're so Florida.
Oh, yeah. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. I was like, I can have a condo wherever this one moves and wherever this one moves. They can come to Mimi's condo and we can just hang out. And I will be like baby oil all over me, just taking in the rays so that I can go have something else chunked off for skin cancer checks. Yeah.
When you go for the college tours for the kids, I'm sure you're going to be like Zillowing local condos of like kids in college. You're like, well, I could live here. It's only like a half mile away.
Yeah. No, I'm not even kidding. Like I told them, like once they like leave and actually pick a destination, like I'm a drive right on up and I'm going to find a condo.
Do you get like that on the road? Because when I'm leaving town, I'm like, oh, thank God. Oh my God. Thank God. And then I get there, and by like the last day, I'm like, I can't wait to get home.
Yeah.
To the point where like I had one time I was in like Montana and we got totally snowed in a blizzard. Oh. And to get home 10 hours earlier, I drove like 2 hours through whiteout conditions because I was like, I thought I was being such a hero to go. I'm going to get home. Almost got killed. It was like the craziest drive I've ever made. Because you're like, and I was like, what am I doing? Why don't I just wait 10 hours and get home? But you can't help it. You try to get home. And then the second you walk through the door, you're like, I'm home. And they all go, yeah, whatever, Dad. We don't care.
Yeah, that is true. That is absolutely true. Because every time I do come home, I'm like, did you guys miss me at all? Or because you called me 900 times, but it was mostly to look like they wanted me to look for shit for them over the phone.
Hey, Mom, we love you. Don't get me wrong. We love you. Hey, but listen, that halter top did you wash that, or is that I can't find it, and I have a thing tonight. We love you, but we do love you. I just want to.
Yeah, but they don't say the "we love you" part. They're just like, "Where are my shoes?" And I'm like, I don't know, up your ass. Go look for them. Where's your father?
What age does the "I love you" stop? Like when do I have to look for that to start?
12. I mean, 11, maybe 12, but that was with the girl. The boys are still very like, will hug me before they walk out of the house. I think it's a different relationship with the boys to the mom and the girls to the dad. I think because I
have all boys. This is useless to me.
Well,
I have all girls. So I think I'm going to be okay because I'm kind of the disciplinarian, but I'm also the guy who's like, yeah, you can sit in the front seat. I don't care. My wife's more anxious about the kids. So she kind of tells them what to wear. I'm like, just wear whatever you want. I don't care. Decorate your room however you want. But my wife is more like this and this and this. So it's a complicated story. It's a complicated story.
But I think that's most households, right? Like I'm the anxiety riddled, like worst case scenario where this is going to happen. And this is why we have to do it this way. And if nobody listens to me, then the sky is going to fall. And if we don't pay attention and my husband is like, you're insane. Calm down. He's going to be fine. And I've already thought of 97 ways that he won't be fine, but nobody thinks that my made up reasons are good enough. And it's annoying because it could totally happen. But
yes, it's a 1 in a jillion shot.
Right.
We went skiing. My daughter fell and she hurt her wrist. And so they took her in and they were like, we think she's fine. It's probably just a sprain, but they put a little splint on her wrist and taped it up or stuff. And then my wife she was so nervous. She's like, well, I'm kind of afraid she's going to ski somewhere. What happens if she falls and that splint comes up and cuts her jugular open? And I was like, please tell me you're joking.
No.
And she was not joking.
At that rate of speed, at the angle of the hill, and with it kicking up and right there.
So you're with my okay. All right. I'm starting to figure this out.
But see, I sided with you immediately. I was like, the sheer mechanics of that don't work for me.
Because I was like, listen, I can't tell you that can't happen. But that's like that's the lottery.
I love that you used a jillion like it was a real thing.
It is wait, jillion's not a real thing?
It sounds fake. Please tell me it's not real.
I guess it is.
A jillion? What is it?
My wife is it's funny too because
quadrillion. No, see, now I've gone.
There's a quadrillion, I think. My wife, when we first got married and we were going to have kids, she made me read this book. It's a French book. It's called Bringing Up Bébé. And the French mentality is that the parents kind of live their lives and the kids are like just tag-alongs and, don't pay attention to the kids. The kids will kind of follow you and do what you do and don't hover over them. And then from day one, it was and I go, what about that book? And she goes, that book's garbage. That was the stupidest book ever written. And I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, it's hard. But I think the older they get, you do kind of morph back into your life. And then there are like, it does. I promise you that part does happen because you have to. If you don't, then they don't understand that you have a life outside of them. And they do continue to think that the world revolves around them. And it doesn't. Like, I know that they think that it does. And I know at times we think that it does, but it really doesn't.
Sarah knows. She gets it. Okay. Jillian's a thing. Well, here's what's funny too, is because like the generation about today is so different from then, because I talk to people who work in the corporate world and they're saying that first, nobody wants to work at all. Like kids just don't want to work. And if they do, they want to be paid and they don't want to miss lunch. Like there's so many parameters where back in the day, I felt like you just did your job and you go, hey, my boss yelled at me and that was normal. But now if a boss yells at somebody, they go, hey man, you're really making me feel uncomfortable, and I'm bringing a lawsuit against you. Like, don't you feel like it's a little different now?
Everything is different now. Everything is different now. So I think it's difficult to parent and raise kids in a world that is very different from how we grew up. I mean, I think there was this amazing meme that went around, and it talked about how like every kid who was raised in the 80s had like thwarted at least 2 kidnappings on their way home from school, right? They were completely latchkey kids. They knew how to, do the laundry and cook the meals and, do this and do that. And it basically was like, don't F with Gen X because we, like, that's what we did. Like I was the one, my mom was one of 5 and they all had multiple children. And so I babysat everybody's kids, all the nieces and nephews across the board. Like I got home and then I was checking on my cousins, right? Like their whatever. And so I was the one. And by the time I was 8 or 9, I was in charge of like a jillion kids. There you go. I used it.
Oh, I gasped for my pearls. I reached for my pearls on that.
And I reached down and covered my junk. So.
There you go. So we got it on both ends. But I think that it was just such a different way of life. And I think back to like just in the 90s, in the early 90s, being yelled at through a megaphone at the track by my coach and being screamed at and like with obscenities. Like we were just getting cursed at through a megaphone and then like lined up after practice. And it's like, you sucked. That was awful. I can't believe I wasted my time watching what you did today. Like if you could never, now I'm not saying that was the best coaching method, but I was trying to get across the line faster next time because I knew it was very upsetting to the coach.
So for some kids it is. For me, I did better when people yelled at me. I just did. Other kids don't. So a good coach would yell at the kids who needed it. I mean, Bobby Knight obviously choked kids and threw chairs at them. I guess you can't do that. But he did win 2 national championships, so maybe he was right. I don't know.
I think you need to, each kid is different. I parent my kid. People give me shit all the time because when I say I parent my kids differently, but I do. They're different kids.
I do too.
Parent them very differently because there are kids. One of my kids, only one, I can motivate her with yelling at her and telling her what I'm going to take from her. And that's our relationship. And she is motivated by that because she wants to keep her phone. She doesn't want me yelling and hounding her about her math grade. So you know what she did all night tonight? She studied. Because I was like, I promise you, if I get an email from this teacher tomorrow, your ass is grass and you're not going on horseback. And the boys, it's different. The boys have a different threshold. Like it's a different thing, the way I parent them. And they're like, you're mean to your daughter and you're nice to your boys. And it's like, no, my sons, I have to parent them differently than I do her. And that's just it. They're different kids, different. I parent them differently. I stand by it.
Isn't it sad? I have to blackmail my children. Like everything is.
What other way is there besides blackmail, Jamie?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
No, that's not sad.
About.
That's human nature. Think about it. What are you motivated by?
Money.
A couple of things.
Yeah.
Honestly,
you're not going to do anything.
It used to be one thing, but now it's really sleep. I'm motivated by sleep.
So then you're going to figure out how to get that sleep, and you're going to do things based on that. The kids are no different. Why is it blackmailing?
Because I I can't, there's no logic. I can't just be like, hey man, like even brushing their teeth. I'm like, they're not my teeth. You can listen to me or not. At some point, it's you. You're going to have, or sunscreen. Like Hannah will not put sunscreen on. We're gingers. We're like, she's bright red hair. We live in California. I'm like, you're gonna, this is going to go bad if you don't wear sunscreen. She's like, I'm not wearing. I go, all right, dude. At some point, it's on you. And I know you're only 9, but buck up.
Yeah, I just feel like we're all motivated by various things. So sometimes we have to take those things from them when they're not going to do what they're supposed to do. Like I told my son the other day, he's 12, he still hates to brush his teeth. And I said to him, I said, listen, I love you, but if you don't brush your teeth and we go in for the next cleaning, I'm telling you right now, that bank account that you have, you'll be paying for the cavity to be filled with the money that you've earned, because they come and they work. We opened a laundromat a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago now. We opened a wash and fold and a whatever, because I love laundry so much that I had to build a whole other building to do it in. And they work shifts. We all work shifts. Everybody works, family business. And I told him, you'll be paying.
Time in the day, huh? You find more jobs for yourself to do?
I do.
Wow.
But I told him, I said, you'll pay to fill that cavity. I said, because you don't brush your teeth. And I've given you every option. I bought the toothbrush. I bought the toothpaste. And I tell you twice a day. So I said, you will pay to fill that cavity, son. And somebody online was like, I can't believe you just said that. I said, I meant it. And I will take the money out of that bank account. And I will hand them the $187 they're going to charge me to fill that cavity, because I'm not paying it. Don't care.
What?
I mean, it's not like you didn't give him a warning. I mean, you were very clear about the terms.
Yeah. Multiple warnings.
Really? And people lit you up online for that?
I get lit up for everything.
I know you do.
My favorite one is like, who let you have kids? And I'm like, wait a minute, were we asking permission before we did this? Because
I took a test down at City Hall.
I was like, they let me leave with the baby each time. So it's on them, really, because
as long as you watch that video about shaking them, they pretty much just let you take them.
I didn't even have to watch a video.
That's honestly the worst thing about this era is that everybody has an opinion and can be heard. That's really, for me, nobody just knows how to go like, you know what? Let it go. What do I care? What do you care what other people do? What do you care? I mean, people care so vehemently about what other people do.
I don't know.
Blows my mind.
I don't get it. But luckily, the large majority of the people who show up to, fold laundry with me on the internet are wonderful. And
that's my favorite thing, by the way. Jason and I talk about it all the time. We're like, Meredith's folding laundry.
Listen, I just don't. I don't understand. I did a live on it the other day because it just drives me batshit crazy. But I don't understand this whole hashtag gym life, hashtag kill for days, hashtag real, hashtag whatever. And you see all of these people that are, whether they're reality stars or influencers or actors or actresses, this whole Ozempic thing, right? Where they're just doing these drugs for weight loss. They're not even meant for weight loss. They're people who need the drugs, can't get the drugs because they're gobbling them up and shoving them into their bony thighs.
And having diarrhea. It's constant diarrhea. That's how they lose their weight. It gives them diarrhea.
I know that. Okay. Well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah. Ozempic. If you take Ozempic.
It was a joke. I know. I was just because I'm
It's diabetes. Yeah. It's for diabetes, but I didn't know that was the side effect of it. But that makes me feel better.
Horrible diarrhea, which is basically it's trying to get everything out of your system.
Yeah. So, but the whole point that I was trying to make is, don't follow and endorse people who don't show you any bit of genuine authenticity or reality of what life is like, because I can tell you it wasn't hashtag kale that did that to that woman's body. Okay. It was a hashtag trainer and a hashtag Ozempic shot and a hashtag, two martinis and no actual food in my belly today. And it was a hashtag whatever. And it's like, so I would rather be the lady who doesn't brush her hair, who folds her laundry on the internet, and who gets, people pissed off because she talks about how she's going to make her kids fill their own cavities out of their bank account money, because that's who I am. That's it. Bottom line. That's who I am. And I'm not going to ever be hashtag kale lady. I hate kale.
Well, I'm with you because I made my daughter give me money for a thermos she lost.
I love it.
Wait a minute. Didn't you also something else happened where you took you money with her too, right? Where with the neighbor girl, she gave the money back for something, and then you
I do it. Meredith, I love it. I think that's why I love you so much, is because you're so real. And I think that's what draws people in. I mean, it's so gorgeous because so many people, like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, did I not show enough? You know, it's like everything you see is so.
If I even tried to do that, like, I don't think the internet can handle the amount of sternum I have. Like, no, nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. But the point is the same. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I just wish people would just be honest. Because here's the thing. If that's who you are, if you are the woman who is in the gym, the influencer on Instagram who looks like that and makes her living off of that, throw a hashtag 2 margaritas and a bump of Coke in there. Just throw it in there so that we know that isn't really what's attainable for everybody else. Do you know what I'm saying?
Photoshop it too. It's like the
Photoshop and the whatever.
She photoshopped her hit. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just like,
so we're trying to live to these standards that aren't
real.
Here's what's great about you is that you know the reality, because as a comic, the only time you get a laugh is when you tell a joke that everyone identifies with. And the only way to do that is to be honest. Like, everyone goes, oh, that's such a good joke. And you go, it's funny because it's true. That's right. Every great joke, everyone goes, that's so true. And we're all living the same life. Everybody is sitting here going, we're trying to get through this thing with our kids in this insane world with social media and the phones. It's insane. And so I love your honesty. So I don't want to drag you out, because I know you're on the East Coast and it's super late and you have some dentist stuff today.
Yeah.
But you're on the tour. So really quick, I know I think pretty much most of these people are your fans. And by the way, your fans are pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Super funny.
I love my people. I love that I got to meet so many of them on the last tour. I'm looking forward to meeting more of them on this tour. And it was great. Like I said, somebody must have been in here from the first Jacksonville show, because she was like, which audience was better, night 1 or night 2? And it's like,
even she needs to be judged as an audience member. Validation. Wait, my audience wasn't good enough?
No, they're so sweet. It was such a great group. It always is. But the thing that I liked this time, and this is what I'm hoping will happen, is, you know, absolutely make it a girls' night if you want to make it a girls' night. But if you don't, bring your spouse, because 90% of this is marriage. This new show is way in with, you know, I've got mother-in-law jokes. I've got marriage jokes. I've just got, you know, the stuff that we're going through, the trenches of it. Of course, there's parenting in there as well. But this one is really more about my thoughts on the inner workings of relationships. You know,
it's all family. That's what's great. It's all the interrelationship with the family. I mean, even like all the stuff you're talking about with your kids is it makes me laugh so hard, and it's my future. It's like, oh, I see that coming down the road. You know,
well, and that's why I always try not to judge something that you're doing right now, because I have been there and done that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't let people be like, you shouldn't cook 3 meals for your kids, because that's just enabling the behavior. And it's like, but if that's what you have to do, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you shouldn't. I'm going to tell you that at some point when they're hungry, they're going to eat whatever it is. And everybody in that house is going to survive, and it's okay. And by the time they're 17, they're not even going to eat what you have, because they're going to come home and they're going to already they've got 8 Chick-fil-A bags in their car. They've already stopped at the Wawa. They've been to Dunkin' Donuts. And then you just get a credit card statement and you're like, what the fuck? What have you been eating? You said you weren't hungry. It's like, it's because I ate 6 times on the way home. Like, I didn't want what you were making. I wanted a Whataburger. So it all changes.
Not just that. I had my kids at Mathnasium this afternoon for like math tutoring that my wife made me take them to. Yeah. And I guess she scored enough points in there, and she walks out and she was eating a Swedish fish box of candy that she'd won. I wanted to go into Mathnasium and go, dude, this isn't Swedish Fishnasium. Stop giving my kid candy like at 5 p.m. at night right before dinner. But that's,
but if she earned her fishes.
She ate them.
Then
She was no dummy. She ate a good hunk of them before she came out the door. She was probably shoveling them out just before she opened the door to come out.
So I was sitting watching the horse show this weekend, and I had a bag of candy in my lap. I'm talking Kit Kats, Whoppers, peppermint patties. Dave had hooked me up. He went to the store, and he knew we were going to be there all day, so he bought this whole bunch of candy and threw it into one bag for me. And I see this little girl, and she's eyeing my stash, right? And then so I was like, what you want? What you want? A Kit Kat? What do you need? Where's your mom? Just let's make sure that this is kosher. And so the mom is like, okay, just one. And so I give it to her, and then her mom turns, and the girl puts her hand around back of her mom, like, can I have more, like behind my mother's back? And I was like, of course, here's 7 more Kit Kats, because you're not my problem. And if you did the reach around, I'm going to give you the candy. That's a solid move. So then she walked up the stairs to the trash can to quickly eat them, buy the garbage, and throw the wrappers away, so the mom never saw. So
everybody loves a good reach around, Meredith. I think you know that.
Who doesn't?
I mean, there's nothing like a fantastic candy reach around. I mean, it's really the.
I agree.
Hey, listen, thank you so much for sharing this with your fans. We're the Parents Lounge. We do this live every Tuesday. We have crazy guests.
Great guests.
Yeah.
We've got some great ones coming up. I'll pop the little thing up here.
All the Super Trooper guys are coming in. Soder's here. Lemmy is coming.
Andrea Barber from Full House. Lamb Chop will be here next week live.
I know. I saw you guys post that, and I brought back so many memories of Lamb Chop. I mean, if you didn't have Lamb Chop on your bed as a kid, next to Raggedy Ann and Andy.
Yep.
Come on, guys. You didn't have a Raggedy Ann and Andy and a Lamb Chop?
I had an Andy for a couple of years.
Jamie was ginger enough already. He probably didn't want to invite that comparison.
I had G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu action grip, and I pulled the little thing in the back, and I think he said something or other.
Yeah, all right. But no, this is great. So you guys got to make sure to like and follow over on Facebook, and then you can watch the podcast live. And, of course, you can listen to it after.
Yep.
We're on iTunes. Yeah, we're everywhere. Jason does the spiel.
Yeah, new episodes of the podcast drop on iTunes every Monday and Thursday. And you can catch us live here at facebook.com/The Parents Lounge or over on YouTube at The Parents Lounge.
Super fun. Hey, will you check in from the road? And if you come west, can I come out? I want to do a guest set at one of your shows.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah. So as soon as I did give a wish list for the second leg. And, LA is on there and Northern California as well. But, of course, you can come and
LA is my lady, baby. I love it. Meredith, thank you so much. Have fun on the road. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to the Parents Lounge. We'll see you guys here live next week.
Good night, everybody.